Well, hello everyone, it's Nina, and I'm here today with Simon Says Stamp to share with you this cute window shaker card that we're going to be creating today using some products from Neat and Tangled. I've got the faceted stamp set here. We're going to be using a sentiment from this set, and I've also got this little heart die, which is from the Heart of Gold collection. I'm going to be using these products today in our card that we're creating, and we're going to be doing a bit of die cutting to start off with. I've got my cardstock here that I'm going to be die cutting with the Simon Says Stamp Stitch Rectangle dies. This is the largest of the dies included in the set. I'm just going to run this through my Big Shot machine. I've got my magnetic platform down underneath my cutting mats. This will help keep the die in place. So here we've got our panel all die cut and ready to go. I'm going to lay this back down onto my cutting mat, and I'm going to bring in the little heart die. I'm going to lay this into the center of the card. I'm going to line that up, and that magnetic platform is holding it down nice and sturdy so that way it won't shift while we're running this through our machine. So I'll go ahead and run that through, and then once I've done so, we'll remove the die from the cutting mat, and as you can see, we'll be left with this beautiful die cut faceted heart, which you can use on another project. We're not going to need it for today. And here we've got the window for our panel. So now I'm taking some American Crafts gold glitter cardstock, and I've got a cardstock shim placed underneath. And this is just to help me give a little bit more pressure as I'm running this through my die cutting machine, because this glitter cardstock is a little on the thick side and a bit harder to cut through. So having that cardstock shim just gives you a little bit more extra pressure and helps give you a little bit more better of a cut when you're running this through your die cutting machine. So we'll just remove the cardstock heart there, and we'll just remove all the little pieces from the inside. And then next I'm bringing in some craft foam, and I'm going to take my heart die once more, and I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine with the craft foam. And what we'll be left with is a nice flat area for our panel to sit on top of to give it a nice raised dimension rather than using craft foam tape. And then we will also have the faceted heart, which is die cut from the craft foam, and we will be using that later on in the card to create a nice beautiful embellishment. So here you'll see how the panel will line up behind the craft foam. So here I've got that heart that I've die cut from the craft foam, and I'm heating it up with my heat gun to shrink the foam. Foam shrinks when you apply heat to it, so this is a really great way to get some extra mileage with your dies and create some really fun embellishments. As you're heating this up, I'm being careful to not burn my fingers, and I'm just letting the heat hit different areas, especially the areas that are kind of warping a little bit. The more heat you apply to them and gradually pull at them and kind of just fix them up a little bit, you're guiding that into a nice perfect shape. So just keep heating it up and working with it, and you'll eventually get it to the shape that you're looking for. Here I've got some spun sugar distress ink and some water that I've mixed with perfect pearls. I'm going to be creating a nice little watercolor background for this panel here that we've die cut from the stitched rectangles and the Heart of Gold die. Misting that ink with the perfect pearl water, and then I'm going to go ahead and lay my panel onto that ink. I'm going to give it a little bit of a smush, and then I'm going to carefully peel it up to reveal the beautiful watercolored background that we've now got going here. And dab it into the ink once more just to add a little bit more color down towards the bottom. Now with my heat gun, I'm going to heat that up and dry it so it's nice and dry before we start our next layer of color. Taking some more of that spun sugar and more of that perfect pearl water, and this time I'm going to create a little bit of a paint, and I'm going to mix that up with my paintbrush and flick that onto my project here. And this is going to create a nice organic splatter effect. So I'll go ahead and dry that once more. And here I've got some Heidi Swap Color Shine. This is the gold and the blush color. And I'm going to take the blush and I'm going to flick on some of that pink color just to add some shimmery pink colors to the background of this panel. It's a little bit darker than the spun sugar, so it adds a nice bit of variation and texture to the card. So here I'm taking that gold color shine and I'm doing the same thing. I'm flicking on some of the gold color, and then I'm going to go ahead and dry that too. I love the shimmery effect of these color shines. It's absolutely beautiful. Alright, so now we're getting ready to build this shaker card. I'm taking that panel and I'm turned it over to the backside, and I'm adding some acetate to the backside. This will create the front portion of our window, and we're also going to use that to adhere our little faceted hearts onto top. First, we're going to do some stamping. I've got my stamp here from the faceted stamp set. I've prepped the surface with an EK Success powder tool, and now I'm taking my Misty to stamp the sentiment. I'm going to be using some Versamark ink to do my stamping. Just going to go ahead and press that down onto my stamp, and then I'll swing the arm of the Misty tool over and press that down onto my paper. I'm going to be heat embossing this with some gold embossing powder, so I'm just going to take some scrap paper and sprinkle that embossing powder right on top, and then I'll go ahead and heat set that with my heat gun. Alright, so now you get to see my fancy cardboard box to contain all of my spray glue. I'm just spritzing the back side of this gold glitter cardstock die, and I'm just going to give that a good nice spritz with that spray adhesive. Remove the box out of the way here, and then I'm going to bring in my cardstock panel and attach this right on top of that acetate. Sorry about my head, I needed to get this lined up. So I'll press that down in there, and then I'll go ahead and lay something heavy on top just to give it some time to dry. While I'm doing that, I'm going to take my A2 sized card base here, fold that in half. This is just 4 1/4 by 8 1/2 inch cardstock from Nino Solar White that I'm just creating a card base from. I'm going to take that same heart of gold die. I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine to create a window all the way to the inside of my card. This is what our panel will get adhered to later on. On that back side of the panel where all of our watercoloring and dies are attached to, I'm taking some score tape and I'm applying this to the back side. This is a nice thick sticky tape, and it's going to hold down this craft foam really, really well. So I'll just line up that window and press that down into the tape good. And you can see we've got our shaker almost built, but before we go any farther, I need to take my sequins and put those inside of my shaker panel here. These are sequins from Lucy's Little Things. These are some iridescent sequins. I love the color because the pink in the sequins really match the spun sugar very well. Taking the second piece of acetate that I've applied some tape to, I'm going to press this down on top of my shaker elements here. Sorry about my head once again. I had to line this up and need to be able to see over top of my paper here. So I'll just press that down good and make sure it's all attached, and there we go. We've got a beautiful shaker card ready to go. All I had to do was adhere this on top of my card base that we had cut the window from, and I'm just taking a few more of those iridescent sequins and pressing them down into some PPA matte adhesive onto the front of my card here. I've also got some little mini gold stars that I'm scattering about as well, and just pressing those into that PPA. So there we have it. I love how glittery and shimmery this card turned out. It's absolutely beautiful. And the shaker inside was really exciting. I loved how it just sees through right to the inside of the card. It's just beautiful. So I hope you've enjoyed. Be sure to stop over at the Simon Says Stamp blog to see more information on this card, including pictures and products used. And thanks again so much for stopping by. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to the Simon Says Stamp YouTube channel. You can also find more of my videos over on my YouTube channel as well. And I thank you again for stopping by and sharing some time with me. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and we'll see you again soon.